In this video, we will be recapping all the craziness that has gone on with telehealth stocks in this past week. At the end of the video, I will be doing some technical analysis on the three stocks that we're talking about today, which is WellHealth Technologies, CloudMD, and Jack Nathan Health. So let's do it. What's going on, you guys? My name is Daniel, and here on this channel, we talk about stock market investing. And in today's video, we're going to be featuring the three telehealth companies that I've been talking a lot about on my channel today. Just one thing to note before we start, the overall TSX index was down by 1%. This will be important later in the video as we look at how the stocks have moved this past week. For those of you who are Canadian looking to invest in these stocks, you can find WellHealth as well as CloudMD on WellSimpleTrade. I have links in the description down below to open up a WellSimpleTrade account today, and you can get $10 for free. Jack Nathan Health is not available on there. However, you can buy this on Questrade. If you're in America and want to know how to trade, let me know in the comments down below and I can tell you how to do that. First up, we have CloudMD. And CloudMD has released the most news out of these three stocks today, so I figured we'd start off with a bang. On October 19th, CloudMD stock was halted. And the stock was halted because the company was going to be releasing some big news. And that big news was a bought deal offering. And the size of this offering was $25 million. So CloudMD was going to release millions of shares at a price of $2.40 per share to raise a total of $25 million. There's also an over-allotment of, I think, $3.75 million, which could bring the total amount to $28 million. And then the next day, before the stock actually commenced trading again, they announced, I think in the morning, that they were increasing this bought deal offering to $32.4 million, plus an oversized allotment of around $4.7 million, which I think brings a grand total to $37.3 million. So this is a huge increase from the original $25 million, and they're going to be using this amount of money to continue expanding. Then the day after that, they announced an acquisition that they were doing. So CloudMD is not wasting time here. They're going straight ahead and acquiring more companies. So the company that they acquired was Canadian Medical Directory. If you want to know more detail about Canadian Medical Directory and why I believe this is a game-changing acquisition for them, and it could eventually help them surpass or catch up to WellHealth Technologies, you want to check out this video right up here or here. It's also linked down in the description. On October 22nd, CloudMD acquired a company called Medical Confidence. Medical Confidence is a revolutionary technology-based healthcare navigation platform for enterprise customers. They leverage a database of 17,000 specialists to reduce wait times for specialist appointments and medical procedures, resulting in better access to care and return to work outcomes. And I think this is key right now because specialists, when you want to see them, it's usually booked out maybe 2 to 3 months later. And for me personally, I've had a few family incidents where they needed to go see specialists. And yeah, the wait time was around 2 to 3 months. And both these situations were actually related to cancer. And if they could have detected or if they could have seen the specialist earlier, then the detection of cancer would have been sooner. And when you're talking about cancer, every single day or every single week matters. And that's not just for cancer, it's for everything in healthcare. When you have a health problem that impairs your everyday life, you want to get this issue looked at quickly. Because the longer that you live with this issue without having a diagnosis and how to treat it, then the more severe it could get, whether that's physical or mental. So this platform is well needed to help connect people to specialists a lot quicker than what the current wait times are. And with all this news that CloudMD has released, their stock has moved up in this week by a total of 22.38%. And that's expected here because investors saw all this activity in CloudMD, got excited and bought the stock up. And later on, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a technical analysis of where I see CloudMD stock going for the next month. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, leave a like down below. Now moving on to WellHealth Technologies. So WellHealth Technologies didn't have quite as much news, but all the news for WellHealth Technologies came at the end of the week. So on October 22nd, WellHealth announced that they completed their $80.5 million bought deal offering. And originally this bought deal offering was for $70 million, and it had the potential to become an $80 million deal if the over-allotment was exercised. And ultimately, I believe the over-allotment was exercised because the deal was $80 million. If you want to hear my thoughts further on this bought deal offering on WellHealth Technologies, check out the link down below in the description because that will link you to the video where I talk about this bought deal offering and what it means for WellHealth Technologies. Also, you should check out the other video down there where I talk about why I believe WELL Health Technologies is a 10x opportunity. And this has to do with apps.health. And it's sort of like how Apple went about doing their App Store. So you want to go check that out if you're interested in WELL Health Technologies. Then the next day on October 23rd, which is today, Friday, which I'm filming this video, they had more exciting news come out where they made an acquisition of this company called Easy Allied Health. And Easy Allied Health plays in the physical therapy space. They have chiropractors, physiotherapists, as well as occupational health therapists. This is not WELL Health's first time acquiring a physical therapy company, and they didn't fully acquire in terms of 100% stake, but they bought a majority stake, which equals to 51%. And I think this is WELL Health trying to get into different facets of healthcare, which is good because if you know more about the whole healthcare system, then you can better service your customers. Because oftentimes people go to the doctors, they need to be referred to different specialists, whether that be to people who are more in the disease sector or people more in the physical therapy sector. Then WELL Health Technologies can have their hand in all aspects of healthcare, from the first triage with a family doctor to the specialist who gives the end care. East Allied Health, they've been generating about $1 million in annual revenue. In WELL Health Technologies, to acquire about a 51% stake, they're paying $1.1 million. This is a 75% cash deal and 25% share. So the price that they're paying for their 51% stake in East Allied Health, in my opinion, is fairly low because they're basically paying $1 million for an extra $500K of revenue each year. One thing to note about the revenue that they're going to be taking in from East Allied Health, the gross margins for this revenue is around 35%, which is a little bit lower than the average gross margin at around 50%. So this acquisition isn't to help boost their technology offerings, but to expand their reach into the healthcare network and try to gain market share among the Canadian healthcare providers. Because right now, as I mentioned in the previous video with CloudMD, the whole race for telehealth is to gain market share, and how to gain market share is to acquire more physicians onto your platform. If we look at WELL Health Technology stock, it's down at around 11.74% since the beginning of this week. So WELL Health has performed poorly compared to CloudMD. And I think maybe CloudMD stole a lot of thunder this week, and a lot of people possibly stole it out of the WELL Health Technologies, seeing as the stock has been continuously hitting all-time highs at around $8. And this week there wasn't that much news, so people maybe switched their WELL Health Technology investments into CloudMD with all the exciting news there. I don't think WELL Health Technologies is a bad investment. I think this pullback in WELL Health Technologies is healthy, and there's probably going to be a bit of a consolidation period here. Next, let's move on to Jack Nathan Health. And Jack Nathan Health is a bit of a wild card here in telehealth because right now we don't know too much about the business. All we know is that Jack Nathan Health operates within Walmarts. Within Canada, they operate in 76 Walmarts, and in Mexico, they operate in 6 Walmarts or Supremes stores. And right now, if you look at Walmart, they have around 11,500 stores in the world. So this provides a great expansion opportunity for Jack Nathan Health. And that's probably why investors have been piling into the stock in the past couple of weeks. But this week, Jack Nathan Health stock has sold off dramatically. It ended off the week down around 19.29%, but at its worst, it was down around 50% from its all-time highs. I think what happened, which I discussed in a previous video, I'll link that right up here, there was a lot of FOMO in this stock. So when I started buying the stock, it was at around $1 per share. And a couple days later, the stock actually shot up to an all-time high of $2.72. And that's basically penny stock territory here. And I think just because of all this FOMO, people were rushing into the stock. Eventually, traders decided to sell out of their stock because they saw a huge run up and it was not sustainable. And ultimately, the stock sold off a couple days later, down to lows of $1.18 per share. But that doesn't mean that Jack Nathan Health is a terrible investment. That's just all the trading action and short-term or day traders that are playing with the stock. I think if you want to know more about Jack Nathan Health, check out my video, which I've also linked in the description down below, which I go into more detail about the business if you want to learn more about them. And I think they have an exciting opportunity, and a lot of people are pointing out that they could be a target for a Walmart acquisition. And if Walmart were to buy the stock, they would buy it at a premium based on how telemedicine is, as well as just healthcare clinics. Jack Nathan Health definitely won't be selling out for a cheap price or to be undervalued. They will be commanding a premium. Jack Nathan Health, compared to WELL Health Technologies and CloudMD, is not as established when it comes to telemedicine offerings. They just started the telemedicine offerings in Mexico and have had a bit in Canada as well. However, compared to all the integration that CloudMD has, as well as Well Health Technology, Jack Nathan Health is lagging quite far behind. But that doesn't mean that they aren't able to catch up, because the market is still fairly unsaturated. The three major players, which are Babylon by TELUS Health, Well Health Technologies, as well as CloudMD, they claim about 42% of the market for physicians. So there's still another 58%, which right now is probably fairly untapped for Jack Nathan Health to go after to expand their telemedicine services. One last thing before we go to technical analysis, I actually went to my local Walmart and visited the Jack Nathan Health Clinic because I just needed a quick doctor's appointment there. And to my surprise, it was actually a fairly well-run walk-in clinic. And what I really liked about it is because during the wait time, I could have sat there for 20 minutes, but instead I just went into Walmart and started browsing around and was able to shop. I think the worst thing about walk-in clinics is when you go there, you don't really know how long you have to sit there waiting. And if you have the option to go to a walk-in clinic that has stores nearby and they don't mind you going there, then I think this becomes a lot more appealing. And ultimately, doctors' clinics rely on traffic, and if you can get more traffic in there, then your business will do better. So the synergy between Jack Nathan Health and Walmart is fairly healthy here, as Jack Nathan Health gets business from Walmart customers, and people who want to go to a walk-in clinic might see Jack Nathan Health is in a Walmart, and they'll be like, great, I can go there and do a one-stop shop. I can get groceries, I can go to the pharmacy, and I can see the doctor without having to drive from one place to another. Now let's jump over the charts for some technical analysis. First off, we're going to be looking at CloudMD. So here I'm on tradingview.com for those of you who are interested, and I've drawn a few patterns here on CloudMD's stock chart. And these I've shown before in previous videos, and these are just some wedges that I've seen where the pattern has been, there's a huge spike in volume, and then there's also a spike in the stock price. And then you can see the stock price consolidating between the top and the bottom line, and the volume also declining. And then after it hits a point, it breaks out to the next new all-time highs and does the same thing. So here I've drawn another pattern kind of predicting where we're going to be going in the next month, and I'll tell you why I drew this pattern. So we can see there's a huge run up in the stock recently, and I don't think CloudMD has any more steam in the engine to be able to move up any further. In one of my previous videos, I said that CloudMD would probably go up to about $3.44, and ultimately it did almost touch those levels on this day here. So you can see it actually hit $3.43 as its high, so I was about 1 cent off from that prediction. And if you are any sort of technical analysis trader, you would have seen this because I was basically basing this on the base height of this triangle here times 2, and that's how much it gained. If you guys don't really understand that jargon, don't worry about it as a beginner investor, but just focus on this next part here. So already we've seen a decline in volume for CloudMD stock, and I predict the volume to continue to decline up until earnings. I don't know if we're going to see any major news coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I think the stock will trade relatively sideways. CloudMD would have to make some very big acquisitions to be able to shoot up to the next new all-time high, but I think that earnings is probably the next time we'll see a pop in the stock. So the blue line is where I predict CloudMD will go after that, and there will be a huge spike in volume on their earnings day, most likely. And on their earnings day, what we're going to be looking for is how much revenue that they accumulated in the past quarter, and just seeing how that's been growing year over year. Also, another key thing that we're going to have to look out for is management's guidance. And I think this is key because right now people are buying into CloudMD for future expectation of how much revenue they're going to be earning. Next, we'll move over to Well Health Technologies. So for Well Health Technologies, I've drawn a couple things here, and we're on Yahoo Finance. So I've seen this upwards bullish channel that's been forming with Well Health Technologies. Every time it hits the bottom of it or the top of it, it bounces back. So you can see that this channel started around here in July, and it's been following this pattern here. It bounced off here on August 28th, and then bounced off here in September. Later on in September, it bounced off again, and you can see it's just been ping-ponging. And today, it kind of bounced off this channel right down here at the bottom. I can see for Well Health Technologies, it's probably going to bounce up next week and maybe trade up about 5 to 10%. But I think one thing that we should be looking out for is that Well Health Technologies has already had a huge run up. We might see a breakout of this channel, and when we do so, I think we're going to see some consolidation period like we saw back here. So as soon as it breaks through this channel, I'll probably wait for a couple of weeks until it consolidates and kind of see what the investor sentiment is before buying into it even more. And then I assume for WellHealth Technologies, just based on what they've been doing in the sector that they're in, they're going to consolidate for a bit and then shoot up even higher. Lastly, let's take a look at Jack Nathan Health. So I think for Jack Nathan Health, because they haven't had much history, it's very hard to say what's going to happen. But we can see that they had a huge spike up here, and then they dropped down fairly heavily and they came back up. And this line here is the 50-day moving average, but not really in days, it's in the 1 hour intervals because that's what the interval I've set this to. So you can see that it sort of tested this 50-day or 51 hour interval, and it kind of rejected that. So next week, it might kind of trade below that, but once we see a full candle above this 51 hour moving average, then the stock will probably trade above and it'll act as a support line. We can already see a reversal in the MACD, so the stock is trending upwards, which is a good thing. Also, the volume has been fairly steady over the past couple of days, which is another good thing to see as there's been a lot of investor activity. As I mentioned before, I think investors are still trying to figure out how to price this stock, so we'll see a lot of volatility in the next couple of weeks for Jack Nathan Health. What I think might happen for the stock, and I'm just going to draw something quick here, I think we're going to see maybe some sort of wedge pattern just like all the other telehealth stocks. It's probably going to look something like this, where it kind of ping-pongs around here, and then it might break out afterwards. This is just purely speculation in my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think we have to see a bit more from Jack Nathan Health over the coming weeks to get a good grasp on what's going to happen in the technical analysis. So that ends it for the technical analysis. If you guys are interested in more telehealth content and my thoughts on these stocks, click on these videos right here, which I post on the screen. And if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you're interested in hearing more about telehealth stocks, as well as just general Canadian stock market investing. Keep up the grind and have a great day.